Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Oilersnation After Dark. As we're here at about 1:20 Mountain Time, still light out, but recapping the Oilers' frustrating loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets. That is now 2 losses to the Columbus Blue Jackets this season, one in overtime back in January, one in regulation today, both quite disappointing. And I think Jonas Korpisalo, the story, making the saves when it counted. We've got a really awesome show coming up for you today. We've got former Oilers first-round draft pick Rob Schremp joining us live from Latvia in a couple minutes here. We'll get his thoughts on what happened today and talk a little bit about his career as well. We'll recap exactly what happened for the Oilers. Like I mentioned, disappointing game, disappointing start. They made it exciting, but just not enough at the end. We've also got producer Gavin, the intern, along for the ride as well. Before we get to the good, the bad, the oily, we'll give you a quick rundown of exactly what happened. Like I said, it'll be quick because we want to get to the good part. Kirill Marchenko got the only goal in the first period, giving the Blue Jackets a 1-0 lead. First shot of the game, not ideal for Jack Campbell. In the second period, the Columbus Blue Jackets came out strong. The Oilers made it very interesting. Boone Jenner would score on the power play. Kirill Marchenko would get his second of the game. Patrick Laine scoring. That made it 4-0 for the Blue Jackets. At that point, the Oilers make a goalie change. Jack Campbell out. Stuart Skinner in. Stuart Skinner makes a couple big saves for the Oilers to keep them in it, and the momentum would change for a little bit there. Warren Foegele gets his 11th goal of the season. Leon Draisaitl scores number 36. Then it was the Connor McDavid show, scoring goals in a couple different fashions, taking over the game, though. One shorty, one even strength. 47-48 on the season. Tie game going into the third period, and then Jack Roslovic would steal the show. He gets his 5th and 6th goals of this season, giving the Blue Jackets a 6-4 lead. The Oilers would score one more. Zach Hyman with his 28th of this season with an empty net, but that's where it would end. The Columbus Blue Jackets victorious over the Edmonton Oilers, 6-5. Like I mentioned, a tough one. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Facebook as well. If you're on Twitter, retweet, tell a friend. Also, send your questions in if you've got any for Rob Schremp, who's going to join us in a minute here. First things first, though, we're going to get to the good, the bad, the oily, brought to you by Cornerstone Insurance. Cornerstone Insurance Brokers, Edmonton's premier boutique insurance brokerage with over 90 years of success and still growing. Visit cornerstoneins.ca/nation to get an online tenant or condo insurance quote in just a few minutes, and use the discount code NATION for an exclusive rate. Find out why Cornerstone Insurance Brokers is ranked amongst the best in Alberta. Give them a follow on Twitter at CornerstoneINS8 and on Instagram, CornerstoneYEG. With this, we bring in Rob Schremp, all the way from Latvia. Rob, thanks a lot for doing this today. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good, man. Can you hear me okay?
We got you now. Okay, I think we got you now. Well, we'll start off with the good today here, and the good, the bad, the oily. And for the good, I think that we just have to look at the brilliance of Connor McDavid. And I mentioned those 2 goals that he scored. The first, taking advantage of a matchup, seeing Johnny Gaudreau and walking him, one of maybe the traditional Connor McDavid goals. And then his second, a slap shot, the clapper. He wanted that puck. He buries it. I mean, what can you say about Connor McDavid and what he can do just to simply take over games?
Yeah, his is unbelievable. I mentioned it in a tweet. Just watching him play out there, it's like that hit the growth spurt before everybody else. But he's doing that at the NHL level. There's obviously a lot of great same time. So his level of dominance is fun to watch. It's entertaining. It's amazing. What I really liked about his game was in the first period, I believe it was Sean Curley was kind of at him. There was another defenseman. I think it's Borberg was kind of going at McDavid and kind of trying to play that chippy game with him to get him off his game, and he responded really well. I think the same shift he goes in, and then eventually takes over. You know, those 2 goals, he got the team back, put the team on his back, and sort of. So it was fun to watch him execute tonight. He put in a great effort, and maybe not enough. Obviously, as Columbus, came up on top and 6-4, 6-5. Sorry, he did a great job. He did his job. He showed up today.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll come up a little bit here throughout this show, but just kind of a typical Connor McDavid experience, and that's just what he does. We'll get to the bad as well here, as we have to, and the first 2 minutes, and we'll I guess more so focus on the first 2 minutes of the first and second period. First shot of the game, Kirill Marchenko, 15th goal of the season, and then in the second period it was still under 2 minutes. Boone Jenner on the power play, so maybe not quite as bad, but obviously you want to have a good start to each of the two periods and get off on the right foot. And today, unfortunately for the Oilers, just wasn't the case.
Yeah, it started with puck management on that first puck management. Just I think unforced error, unforced turnover, and that was a little bit of the model of the night. I felt like watching that game. It was unforced errors and really a little bit careless with the puck. So, yeah, and I think that penalty at the end of the first period, we just got done killing one. Momentum is obviously a key thing. First 2 minutes of the period, obviously last 2 minutes of the hockey, making good decisions. So it was tough to have, again, another thing to go on, power play to start second, fresh ice and score. So it was the game. It was just, it's an early game, so the boys are probably just that way. Puck management wasn't there, and that gave Columbus momentum to do when you're on the road. You want to really suppress that. So that's probably something they'll be talking about video whenever, tomorrow or the day after.
That was a perfect transition into the Oily because, it might even go back to your time with the team where amongst the Oilers fans, we talk about how, man, these matinee games, the afternoon games are just a killer for this team. It's funny because, we can talk about it. You lived it. You played professionally for a long time. You played your fair share of these afternoon games. As a professional hockey player, how much tougher is it to get going in the afternoon compared to a typical 7 o'clock start?
Everything's routine, right? To the course of the season and to the course of your career. But to the course of the season, you're in such a routine or 7:30 games. Whether it's with your food, your prep in the morning, your nap to get ready for those games. So once in a while, when you get jolted with those afternoon games, it is a bit of a shock. I really think so. I could see that in the game today too. Looked a lot more like others. I felt like halfway through the second and to the rest of the game, but it just took about a period and kind of come together. So it's tough. It is a player trying to figure it out, and sometimes you don't even realize it. You go for your pregame brunch in the morning, and you feel fine, and then you go out in the game, and it just doesn't sort of life like you want them to. You're not seeing the plays the way you'd like to, and it can be it's a totally different. It's totally different. The game's whatever that is, 6-7 hours than you're used to, and your body's used to. So, but that being said, it is weird how that happens. I talked about this quite a bit. We do practice the majority of this at 10 o'clock in the morning, and whatever it is, 9 or 10, whatever teams. Some teams are different, but so your body should be adjusted to being jolted at that time when you have those games. Like practicing games are totally different. So, but I just think it's it's kind of weird that way. That total shock, because you do skate at 10 o'clock most days, but to turn it on to commode at that time, whether it be early afternoon, or I think what was it? Yeah, really. Sometimes it's tough to find your stride early.
Yeah, I joked with some people. I do the pregame show with TSN, and someone was asking, "What's the play today?" And I said, "If you're on Betway and you want to win some money, go for the over because Jack Campbell has struggled a little bit. These morning games, there's going to be some goals, and the Oilers' offense, can put up a lot of points. So Betway, I hope you bet the over. I saw there were some people going live betting, trying to get the Oilers when they were down 4. That would have been a really nice payday. Do so responsibly, 19 plus if you're going to use Betway." Rob, when you see the goalie change the way it did, and Stuart Skinner comes in, maybe a little bit of a spark. I imagine as a player, you want to win no matter what. It doesn't really matter who's between the pipes for you. But is there a little burst of energy that comes with that goalie change? Maybe a kick in the pants from the coach with it?
I think as a player, you're really more you're more in the tune of we down and we just let Jack down. So it's, you kind of you pulled, and that's that. It wasn't on Campbell. I felt like after they scored the first goal, they made a couple really nice saves and settled the play down. Made a really square save on the power play, and he was seeing the puck well and stopping the puck well. So I don't think it was anything on Campbell. So or a day like this one, Campbell getting pulled as a teammate, you're like, we just let him down. This is BS. Wake up. We just screwed him over. So let's get it, bring it together. Momentum, that did bring some spark to the boys, and I felt like they started playing after that. Doing a lot more. So yeah, it's not always, as a player, you just you feel bad about letting your goaltender down.
We got people here on our YouTube chat. Lance says, "Hi, Rob." You got a lot of people here saying hello. I think a fan favorite from your time with the team. One of the most skilled players I think I've ever seen. The silky mitts that you had, Rob. I think that's what always comes to mind when it comes to you. Do you watch these guys today and think, "Geez, I wish I was playing in this version of the NHL," because it certainly seems to be a lot more offensive minded, and a lot of these young kids coming up just doing some fantastic things.
Yeah, I think this is definitely this era is totally different than when I came up. It was in the West, playing for the Oilers, being drafted by the Oilers. There's the Western Conference when I was a rookie year coming up. Every team was big. Calgary, San Jose. I remember the first time playing against San Jose Sharks. They were big, really. Joe Thornton. I almost say his name wrong. Clough. They had guys like this. Their roster was very big, very heavy, and it was the whole. You see that trend's kind of going a little bit away. The West is still big, but it's a lot. The league is a lot more rope. You're just seeing the youth in the league now, and how many guys under the age of the league and have prominent roles. It's pretty cool to see, and the skill level is super high. It's definitely. I think it'd be, for me personally. Obviously, I think it'd fit in a lot better in that game as well. The chess match and the hit and pinning and the clutch and grabbing. I mean, by any means, but I did enjoy that cat and mouse game of like you had to stay away from, otherwise you'd get trapped. So, it's definitely has its pros and a lot more fun. And I think, through my career, my last year in junior, and that was with the new rules and the new skill, like allowing skill to happen. Like why I put up so many points, and people asked what the difference was. The rules changed, and again, I got to show my changed a lot. And I think the 04-05 lockout, the new rule changes come to fruition here around 2015, 2016 is when it finally started to come to the lot of young skill, young talent getting to the league and the league. So now we're seeing it really at the top. The point totals, you see, obviously Connor McDavid, guys that are going to hit the 100-point season or 100-point seasons, and that wasn't the case. The highest point guy would be in mid 80s or low 90s. So skills really rising up now, and the game's evolving, and it's a lot more in that type of game.
Yeah, you mentioned those like San Jose teams, even going down to Anaheim with Getzlaf and Perry and the LA Kings. Those were some big teams, and that was a tough road trip back in the day. And you're right, now you're starting to see. I know Jamie Benn led the points in scoring one year with like under 100 points, and that's not the case anymore. Certainly a lot more offensive minded. Rob, when you look at this Oilers team and what's coming up here for the trade deadline, is there a position of need that you think of? Like I've said it here, I just like to see Ken Holland make a move, maybe help guys play lower in the lineup, or show the guys in the room that you're trying to improve the team and you believe that they're a serious cup contender. Is there any spot that you think this team needs to look at to specifically improve upon?
I think a high-level quarterback, defenseman would be, and a really settling piece. I think that's something, and everybody wants that, and everybody needs that to the Oilers. But I think it is something that would be also in the mentorship. Do it. Not somebody that's done it before and they're kind of at the tail end. But if you could bring somebody who'll do it, I think that'd be really beneficial for other guys that are looking to fill that role later. Even in a veteran like Barry and Darnell Nurse, these guys watching that's out there that people have their eyesights on and want to come there and hopefully maybe he does. Who knows? A player being on the ice with him every day would be a benefit to everybody around and the decor that are going to be around, or call-ups that get to come up and see that and be in practice and watch them in games. I think it'd be a huge presence, and that ability to dominate a game, being a defenseman, I think would be a great piece. It adds a lot of depth and settle things like today, or a day like today, a game like today. That was the problem. The puck wasn't settled down around. So somebody that come out there and make like 3 or 4 just pure great passes, and on the other way against Columbus in a game like today would have been what they needed. So going forward would be very good for the Oilers.
Rob, one last question here for you. I really appreciate you doing this all the way from Latvia. I know it's after 10 o'clock there at night, so we do appreciate this. Obviously, the Columbus Blue Jackets, one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to scoring goals. They're second lowest, but they found a way to get 6 against the Oilers. You look at the schedule upcoming for this Oilers club. You got the Bruins on Monday, then the Maple Leafs, 2 against the Jets, then the Sabres, then the Bruins again, then the Leafs. I mean, what do you think the message is going to be from Jay Woodcroft to the team here? Because going down 4-0 against the teams I just mentioned, you're not coming back. I mean, they're going to have to really start to show up here because it's a tough schedule coming up here.
Yeah, but I think that's a doomsday sort of thought. The way you're producing it. What I see is more like it was all self-inflicted today. And those are fixable. You watch it on film, and you just, you can literally say to the player, like, with this puck decision, and whatever that might be, it's like, well, obviously it's the wrong one. Let's make, early in the game, let's make better decisions. So these guys are pro players. The fixes, I think, from today's video are going to be very easy. It would be puck management, just a little bit better decisions, and the thing is, it's tough too, and I know that Columbus not high in score. They're a National Hockey League team, and they got a couple of National Hockey League snipers. So it can show up, and a team can show up, and that's the NHL. And that's, when they talk about the bettors and stuff, it's tough money on hockey because you never know. A day like today, you'd think the Oilers would steamroll Columbus. Again, Columbus showed up. They got some really good players on that squad for whatever reason they're having a struggle this year, but they're professional. And Columbus did show up today. To say that the Edmonton, I wouldn't say that's fair. I think that Columbus did earn it today. Their, line A was real, like he had that jump in his step, was making really good plays. Jenner was all over it in front of the net, being a pain in the ass well today. So it wasn't just totally the Oilers lay down and let Columbus win. Columbus willed, and then Connor McDavid almost stole it back. And Columbus came in the end. But it's the NHL. Like these teams, these players are still really, really good. So I think again, the video is going to be very easy to fix what happened today.
Rob, that's awesome. Hey, thanks so much for doing this today. We really appreciate it, and maybe we can get you back on down the road here.
Thanks for reaching out.
Great. Take care, Rob. There you go. That is Rob Schremp, a former Oilers first overall pick back in 2004. Had some great years with the London Knights. Played professionally around the world now in Latvia. So we appreciate him hopping on. And, hypothetically, if you ever wanted to go over to Latvia, maybe you reach out to the friends at AMA Travel, talk to them. They can help you out, make it happen. I hear it's a beautiful country. And, you could have a lot of fun here. Now, we've got Tyler Yaremchuk joining us here also. Tyler, you're joining us from a basement in St. Albert. Is that correct?
Yeah, not quite Riga, Latvia, or wherever Rob Schremp is hanging out. Not quite as exciting, hey?
Yeah, but the Wi-Fi is better, so that's
Fair.
a perk from this. So we'll move on, but we do appreciate Rob doing that, staying up late to join us here on Oilers Nation After Dark. I feel like I might have gone a little too panic. I looked ahead to the schedule. I saw the teams upcoming. You got the Bruins, you got the Leafs, you got the Jets, even the Sabres in there. Rob says a lot of the faults today were game management, and there's a lot of correctable moments. When you look at these upcoming games here, Tyler, how are you feeling after today's loss to the Blue Jackets?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. It's hard to feel great, right? You just lost to the worst team in the NHL. You've now dropped, or you only pick up 1 out of 4 points against them on the year. Like, that's really not good. And I get they threw, almost 50 shots on net. That's all good. That's all fine. But you're not going to get 50 shots on net against Boston, Toronto, Winnipeg, Buffalo, Boston, Toronto. That's a really, really hard stretch of hockey. And again, tonight, there was one guy rolling, and it was number 97. And everyone else just seemed more or less okay with just being passengers. And that can happen. I don't know why this team continues to do that against really poor hockey clubs, and they show up against the good teams. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I don't know. There was a lot of guys that needed to be better tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on that one. I thought there was points of the game where I thought Fogle looked okay. I thought Ryan McLeod to start the game was okay. Their line was not bad. But you're right. A lot of passengers in this one, a lot of watching. What did you make of Jack Campbell in this game? A lot of people on Facebook and YouTube kind of throwing his name out there. I personally, I feel like I would have gone with Skinner. The longer the season's gone on, I find myself going with Skinner a little bit more. But what do you think of Campbell's performance tonight or this afternoon?
Here's where I'll justify the Campbell start. Again, your next opponents are Boston and Toronto, and then Winnipeg, Buffalo, Boston, Toronto. What one of those games do you want Jack Campbell playing in? It's a league where you need 2 goalies to succeed. Every single team that's in the playoffs is like that. You need a starter and a backup that you can rely on. If you can't trust your backup against the worst team in the NHL to not even, like, if he would have been average tonight, would have cruised to a victory. Easy 2 points for the Oilers. If you can't trust your backup against the worst team in the NHL, that is not on the coach for starting them. That is on whoever put that backup in your organization, right? Like, I mean, come on. I know everyone's worried about Jack Campbell's feelings right now, but let's call a spade a spade. He was brutal again. And let's go back through his game logs here. 6 goals against Colorado, 4 tonight, obviously, 4 against the Rangers, 4 against the Red Wings, 3 against the Senators. Those are his last 5 starts. 3+ goals against in every single one. He didn't even finish the game today, and he still gave up 4. That's brutal. That cannot be happening if you want to be a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs. And you can sit there and say, they should have gone with Skinner. He's the hot goalie. You got to start him eventually. You can't go however many games are left in the season here, 22, 23, whatever it is. Can't start Skinner 23 straight games. You got to find spots to play your backup. Tonight was an easy spot to play your backup because should have been an easy win, and it wasn't because of that performance. The team in front of him was bad too for a good chunk of that, but you need a save at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it last time on the post-game show here. The games that he's losing and giving up all those goals, he's getting support as well. Like, he's getting goals for, he's just getting beat too many times. And yeah, you're right. You bring up a good point. You do have to get him out there eventually. I don't know. I'm worried about it. And I've heard some people say that you got to give him the shot against the Leafs because it's his former team. Maybe. I mean, maybe that gives him an advantage. He wants revenge, whatever it might be, but I want to start the goalie who's going to give you the best chance to win.
Yeah.
And right now, not too sure who that's going to be here. The lowest scoring team in the NHL. I mean, that was second lowest behind Chicago is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They get 6 past the Oilers. I mean, overall defensive play, what did you make of it? Let's not put all the blame on Campbell, but a little bit the guys in front of him. Too many breakdowns. I know Darnell Nurse is getting a lot of criticism here today.
Yeah. Columbus had 11 goals in their last 5 games coming into tonight, and the Oilers let them score 6. So that's going great. Defensively, I thought there were some issues. I thought Darnell Nurse had a couple of rough moments. Tyson Barrie made a couple of tough reads, but none of them turned out to be that problematic. I thought Vinny Desharnais was fighting it. There was one shift in particular in the second period where he kind of just stood off to the side and Skinner left him the puck and then looked and was like, oh man, I got to get it to this guy. Swiped it over to him. Desharnais immediately turned it over. So he wasn't great tonight. One of the first games he's played in the NHL where I've been like, ooh, he was out of place, took the bad penalty as well. Broberg made a bad pass. You can go down the list. Defensively, they were not great tonight. But I mean, how many shots did they end up giving up at 5-on-5 by the end of the game? Only 20. Okay, if I'm only giving up 20 shots on goal, I get that natural stat trick has 9 of them from high danger areas. That's still not like a brutal defensive stat line by any means. But it does emphasize that, yeah, they need a D-man here ahead of the deadline.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's starting to look like Patrick Kane's going to the New York Rangers more and more. He left the team in San Jose. There's moves being made. Got to crank up the urgency a little bit, I think, for Ken Holland. I'm sure he's making phone calls, but we'll wait and see what happens in the next 5.5, 6 days here. Carl on Facebook, Oilers soft team, easy to play against. Nate Sandpaper on the team. Dan says, Ken Holland is a plug. Retire now. He's certainly not going to retire now. He's got a nice paycheck coming. He's going to keep going with that one.
He's got 10 more million to make.
Yeah, why would you'd be silly to retire now? Gavrikov coming to Boston says Lance. Loomis points out he didn't play. Tyler, going where we are now, looks like Patrick Kane's going to be out of the picture. I know Jonathan Toews was a guy who's high on your list. He's going to be done for the year. At this situation right now, this junction, is there a name that comes to mind that you think could be a quick fix here, or something that would be an immediate impact player for the team?
Interesting. I like the name Nick Jensen in Washington. I think if you're looking for a defenseman who's going to help you make clean first passes and just give you a simple game, then I think Jensen could be a guy you look at. The only issue is, like, I've been a guy who all season's been saying this is a year to go all in and spend the first round pick and everything. But as we get closer and closer to the deadline, with names like Kane and O'Reilly and Tarasenko all being shipped away to other markets, I'm kind of starting to sit here and go, who's even worth giving up the first for? I know a lot of people are saying Chychrun is what they need. And hey, who knows? Maybe if they give up, or if the asking price drops on Chychrun here, because Arizona might have to get desperate at some point to get a deal done, maybe Chychrun enters back into the mix, but I don't believe that to be the case. Like, I think if they would have really liked him enough to trade significant assets for him, they would have done it already. So I'm at the point now where I'm not sure who out there is the answer for this team and is worth giving up a massive package for. I see someone, Will, in the Facebook chat said Ekholm and Jeannot. Yeah, I would give up a lot of stuff for Ekholm and Jeannot, but I don't know how you make the money work. And that's a situation that Ken Holland's got himself into now, where he doesn't have money that he can spend. So yeah, it's not an ideal situation, but we'll see. I mean, Ken Holland, to quote my good friend Bob Stauffer, he gets paid a lot of money, right? So figure it out. And I'm paraphrasing and probably just being a jackass about that. But, like, come on, Ken, like, you got 6 days here or whatever, make something happen. It's your job as the general manager to give Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl the absolute best supporting cast you can so they can go on a run, because you can't waste the kind of season Connor McDavid's having.
100%. I mean, and not just McDavid, but you talk about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman having career years. Looking at Ekholm, $6.25 million cap hit for another 3 years after this. And then Tanner Jeannot, I mean, I like him. I just don't get why Nashville would make that move. I guess if, full-blown rebuild, but he's a nice player. And if the Oilers could acquire his services, I think that'd be a fantastic addition, especially getting into the playoffs. Now, we got a lot of people ripping on Ken Holland here on the YouTube and Facebook. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. We always appreciate that one. And Jack Campbell. Yeah. Can we trade Jack Campbell? I don't think anyone's going to really want to acquire Jack Campbell. And then you're putting all of it on Stuart Skinner, which I don't know if that's going to be tough. Bouchard is lazier than I am, and Kulak is brutal. That from Shane on Facebook. Well, yeah, Evan Bouchard's quickly finding himself into the whipping boy category here on this Oilers team. Not quite Darnell Nurse level, but a lot of people frustrated with old number 2's game.
I thought Kulak actually had a good game, the contrary to what Shane says there. And Bouchard, I didn't think he was a problem tonight. I mean, unless I missed a bunch of really bad plays, but I mean, his stat line in terms of what was happening and like the results when he was on the ice, I don't think it was brutal. I'm just trying to find it again. Yeah, like when he was on the ice, they outshot him 13-4. I guess they did get outscored 2-0, but that one goal wasn't his fault. That was probably his partner's fault. I don't know. I don't get all the hate for Evan Bouchard, but I guess people need a whipping boy. And I mean, there's a lot of candidates coming out of that game here tonight.
Yeah. I mean, and it's never going to be Desharnais. It's not going to be Vinny. Everyone
Well,
loves
yeah,
him.
like Vinny had a bad game today, and no one's going to say anything about it. I mean,
No.
granted, he's your seventh defenseman making league minimum, so that's fair.
Yeah. Played 10 minutes. Darnell's leading the way, 23 minutes, 22 seconds amongst the blue liners. Tyson Barrie at 20. A lot of that coming on the power play. Bouchard 16:55. 2.5 minutes on the old power play. Yeah, I mean that's just a frustrating one. I don't know. The next couple games here, Ty.
Yeah.
I talked about it with Rob, and he thinks it's correctable. I don't know about it, but what's your confidence level at when you see the Boston Bruins coming to town, a team that hasn't even reached double-digit losses and is still improving their roster? The Maple Leafs, another team that's improved their roster. The Jets playing good hockey. Like, I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like it's gut check time for this team, and it'd be a real nice move, I think, for Ken Holland to inject someone into the lineup, but also, show the confidence in the guys in the room. Like, hey, I believe that this could be our year. Let's go for it. Like you say, this is the year to do it. These next couple games here, what do you think has to change? Do we need to see a little more urgency from this group?
Yeah, I've used the buzzword desperation a bunch of times, and to the Oilers' credit, like they had that back in January. When you go back and look at how they played against Vegas and Seattle and Tampa for that 3-game stretch when they were so good and beat 3 really quality hockey teams, they were playing this like desperate brand of hockey. They were putting their bodies on the line. Guys were going out there and just playing mistake-free hockey. It felt like there were playoff vibes, And then you go back to what you're seeing now, and it's just seems like they've reverted back to what they were early in the season where, yeah, hey, if the offensive chances are coming easily, then they're going to have a good night. But if the other team provides any sort of resistance, they're just going to crumble and go, it's not worth working hard for it tonight. So I think they need to play desperate. The good news is they tend to find a different level when they go up against these good teams. If you want me to be glass half full about this, they didn't play that well against the Rangers and Avalanche, yet still brought both of those games to overtime. If you want to be glass half empty, you'd say, hey, they blew leads in both of those. But listen, I'll try to be positive for a second here. They brought a couple of cup contenders to overtime in a shootout over the last week or so here. Maybe they can do it again for another stretch. I just mentioned they beat Seattle, Tampa, and Vegas in consecutive games just a month ago. Maybe you can channel that a little bit, but I do think they need to at some point flip the switch of going through the motions and just playing like it's the regular season to flip. Let's play like every game's a playoff game and like our playoff lives are on the line.
Nor on Facebook says, hey guys, great 20 minutes, same old issues. Goaltending, defensive play, lack of intensity, first round exit if this continues. Maybe. I mean, I kind of like the path for the Oilers in the playoffs in the Pacific. Obviously, they got to get their stuff together and play a little bit better here.
Yeah.
How much of a loss is Evander Kane right now in these games, do you think, Ty?
Well, yeah, you talk about desperation and swagger and playing with a bit of edge. Like Evander Kane brings all those things. You can't keep going through nights where your most physical presence up front is Connor McDavid like he was tonight.
Yeah,
so I think they do miss Evander Kane, although he wasn't even really playing great hockey in his last couple of games in the lineup. And I know it might have been because he was banged up. But yeah, I mean, sure, they could use a top 6 forward who's scored at a 30 to 40 goal pace with this team. That's kind of an obvious one.
It'd be nice to have him, yeah, for sure. Connor McDavid, 5 hits, leading the team. He was taking hits and throwing hits tonight or this afternoon out in Columbus. Ty, anything else you want to touch on here before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I don't know if you hit on it, but Vitaly Kravtsov got moved to the Vancouver Canucks, and the return was like not at all what I thought. It's a prospect and a 7th round pick for a guy who was a top 10 pick in 2018. So I get that was 5 years ago. I'm just a little bit surprised that they didn't get a little bit more for a guy like Vitaly Kravtsov. It's William Lockwood and a 7th round pick. So for those people who are maybe sitting there going, oh, you can just dump off pieces like Puljujarvi. I mean, Kravtsov still at least has a little bit more of that shiny prospect element to him. And I get, Puljujarvi's put up better results in the NHL, so maybe that helps his value. But I'm surprised that Kravtsov, basically on his ELC still, making close to league minimum, wasn't able to get them more. But we're basically just waiting for the tweet saying Patrick Kane to the Rangers now. Like, it's happening soon.
Yeah, it has to be happening soon. Everything's leading to that direction. Probably, I don't know. When do you think it happens? I say before 5 o'clock, going on an edge day. Or do you think they wait till tomorrow?
No, I think it could happen like any minute here. Like, they waived Lecision and they traded Kravtsov. Everyone's been hearing all week that those were the 2 things they needed to make the money work. So there you go. Yeah, 5 o'clock, sure. Set the over-under at 5 o'clock. Drop your takes in the chat, everyone. Over or under?
5 o'clock. Mountain Time. Facebook player just quickly here. Kane is irrelevant since the injury, says Ron. Dino says Kane was barely even noticeable when he came back. I mean, yeah, he's got to get healthy 100% to really be the player that he is. Those ribs, tough injury for sure.
Injury.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes him to get back with that one. Should mention again, I mean, if you were on Betway today, 19 plus, betting responsibly, of course, took the over. I mean, that seemed like common sense today. You probably could have live bet the Oilers comeback tie. Did you throw some money down when they were down 4-0?
I threw some when they were down 3-0, and I was looking like a genius for a bit. But it wasn't a terrible day for me on Betway because I had Oilers 36 plus shots and Zach Hyman to score. So those both, came to fruition. But I missed on the Oilers puck line and I missed on a live bet. So I'm still sitting here, not up a lot after that one.
Well, you'll bounce back. You'll bounce back. I have full confidence that you will. Let's get some predictions for next game. We might as well do this. We got to bring in our producer, Gavin, the intern. Kind of like his flu game right now. He's battling a little bit of a sickness, but like Jordan, he's fighting through it, doing everything quite well. He's got the stats going. Connor McDavid, 2 goals in a third consecutive game. Is it 7 games in a row now for Draisaitl with goals?
Yeah, it's 7 straight now for Draisaitl. So I know people were kind of on him a little bit, but ever since then, he's kind of taken off and he's on his scoring pace again, which is nice to see.
You know what? Hey, that's what they need coming up against these opposing teams here. It's going to be tough. So let's look at it. Boston, Monday. It's a 6:30 start here in Edmonton. Ty, let's get a one Betway prediction and a score prediction.
A Betway prediction. I'm going to say Zach Hyman's been a streaky goal scorer this year. I'll give you, if you want to lay some shekels down, go Zach Hyman to score in a second straight game. And as far as a score prediction, I'm assuming Skinner's getting the start. I will try to give the people some positivity. I'll say the Oilers hang on and win that game 3-2. It'll be real tight checking.
Gavin, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, like I know what they say. Life's way too short to bet under, but playing the Boston Bruins, you're going up against Allmark, best goals against average in the league. So I'm going to hit the under in this one. And then I'm going to remain optimistic. I'm going to go 2-1 Oilers.
I mean,
that'd be a hell of a game from Stu.
Yes.
I mean, we hope we see it. Okay, I'll take. I'm gonna go Nugent Hopkins 2-point game, 2+ points, and you know what? It's gonna be a first here, and I'm hoping that maybe I'll just be wrong because I've been wrong a few times. 4-3 overtime loss. I think the Bruins continue their strengths here, but I just wanted to finally go the other way because that's the first time anyone's picked in our predictions an Oilers loss. So I'll be the bad guy and do it here. Tyler, thanks a lot for doing this today. Really appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Have a good remainder of your weekend.
You as well. Gavin, great work today. Appreciate what you do as per usual. We got to thank our sponsors at Cornerstone Insurance, cornerstoneins.ca/nation. Use code NATION for an exclusive rate. Also, Betway, like we said. Have some fun there. Do so responsibly, 19 plus. And AMA Travel. We touched on it very quickly here. The Nation Vacation coming up shortly out in Toronto, but they do everything. You can go anywhere. If you wanted to go to Latvia to visit Rob Schremp and see what he's up to, they'd be the way to do it. AMA Travel on Twitter and on Instagram, AMA_travel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today here on Oilers Nation After Dark. I'm Connor Halley. Once again, if you're on Facebook, hit that like button. If you're on YouTube, do the same, and on Twitter, just reply to us. Let us know. Tell us what you think. And a lot of fun. We got to thank Rob Schremp for coming on here. We'll try to keep that up throughout the remainder of the season. Every once in a while, grab some Oilers alumni to join us here and share their thoughts on the game. Hopefully, we'll have better Wi-Fi connections. We know that's important, and we'll fix up that as well. So I'm Connor Halley. He's Gavin the intern. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you on Monday.